A very warm welcome to you. Now, tensions remain high in Egypt today. Pro-Muslim Brotherhood supporters took to the streets in what they're calling Rejection Friday. Ben Brown is in Tahrir Square. Well, joining me now is Ishaq Saddiqi, market strategist at ETX Capital. Even while all of this stuff is unravelling on the streets in and around Tahrir Square, interestingly on the markets, investors actually seem fairly optimistic about Egypt at the moment.
Yeah, well, look, people are looking for long-term value. You're seeing a slide on the Egyptian pound in the near term.
Let's talk about oil, because the price spiked.
Absolutely. It spiked. It's at 14-month highs now. Correctly, we're going to have to see those donations come in. All
eyes on the International Monetary Fund to see what their next move is. Ishaq Saddiqi from ETX Capital, many, many thanks.
Thank you.
This is the Business Edition with me, Alice Baxter. Good to have you with us. The top stories this hour. Clashes have broken out in the Egyptian capital of Cairo between opponents and supporters of the ousted President Mohamed Morsi. As instability persists, the dire economic situation in the country is pushed to the back burners, but the coffers are drying up and Egypt needs its economy back on track. OK, now let's move to the United States, because it's the 4th of July holiday weekend, but on Monday, even more people will be heading back to work. In June, the official employment figures, that's the non-farm payrolls, showed that 195,000 jobs were added last month, and that's much higher than we were expecting. But the unemployment rate stayed the same at 7.6%. Well, let's go straight to Mariko Oi. He's in New York for us. So, Mariko, how are the markets reacting to this news?
Well, Alice,
so, Mariko, as you say, this number of 195,000, considerably more than many analysts were expecting. We were expecting around 165,000, weren't they? But it does also increase speculation that the Federal Reserve might now begin to unwind their policy of easy money.
That's right, and that's partly why investors are quite cautious when it comes to all these new figures.
Yeah, place your bets now. OK, Mariko, many thanks for that. Mariko Oi there for us in New York. Now, when are record profits simply not good enough? Well, that seems to be the problem for South Korean electronics giant Samsung. In the last few hours, it's released estimated earnings for the April to June period ahead of full quarterly earnings in a couple of weeks' time. Well, it said it made an operating profit of some, wait for it, $8.3 billion in the last 3 months. That was up 47% on the same period last year, and a record figure for the company. But like Apple, its bitter rival in the smartphone market, Samsung is finding that record results simply aren't enough to satisfy investors, who are anticipating even faster growth in earnings. Mark Gregory reports. Well, Tom Cheesewright is a technology expert and blogger of Book of the Future, and he joins me live now from Salford. Tom, many thanks for joining me. Well, as we were just saying, Samsung, like Apple last year, it posts these record profits, and yet analysts and experts everywhere are saying that it failed to meet expectations. So are our expectations just too high?
It's very hard to keep the markets happy, isn't it?
Let's talk about those aggressive competitors. Let's talk about the threat from these Chinese makers that we're seeing moving onto the market, making these very attractive and very cheap models comparatively, from the likes of Huawei and ZTE particularly.
Absolutely. I mean, Huawei is a prime example. Yeah.
OK, Tom Cheesewright, many thanks for that update from Salford. Now, South Korea has long played host to millions of Japanese tourists each year, drawn to Seoul by the popularity of Korean celebrities and new shopping opportunities. But aggressive stimulus measures by Japan's government have seen the yen fall, and that's having an impact on the number of Japanese tourists travelling abroad. Our Seoul correspondent Lucy Williamson reports.